God. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crystal Water Experience podcast. And today I've got the wonderful AJ Roberts and Korrin, who I met probably maybe 18 months ago, maybe even 2 years ago, depending on kind of what you class as a meeting. And their work, I feel, is really important at this time. And it says, AJ and Korrin, please come on and talk, because we have so many people who are now either awakening or have been awake for a while and aware of what's going on in the world. But you know what? They're sick of living just day to day, finding out new psyops to find out about and all the rubbish stuff. They can feel in themselves that maybe their life shouldn't be spent just kind of figuring out what the latest psyop is, and think that they should be looking after themselves and what they need to grow. And there's something in them that wants to grow, but they don't know where to go. And I did a brilliant podcast the other night with Tommy, and he was saying the same thing. He said, I've been awake since like 9/11 and I don't know what to do. How do I get rid of this trauma in me? Why do I keep following the same programs all the time? And I so grateful that you guys have come on the show, because you are perfect to talk about this and you have solutions, which is what this podcast's all about. So welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Great. So let's kind of start from the beginning for you both, and maybe both can share the story about how your awakening journey kind of went. Typically, kind of for people, something happens, they then go and investigate it, they go into kind of fear mode and information gathering mode, and then hopefully they realize actually there's some way out of it. And you two are a beautiful example of that. Is that how it went for you guys, or were you just magically very aware and knew
I
how to
think
do
I
all
think
this
for
stuff?
most people, for us particularly, it was the 2020. Both of us probably were already on a journey before that point, but that was the bang moment for both of us separately at the time. We didn't know each other at the time. AJ very much went on a mission with his podcast, which he'll talk about in a minute. I was very much at home with my children, navigating this crazy world, and it just felt really intense. But that was my moment of really going down all the rabbit holes, kind of trying to shake people and being like, the world is not what you think it is, help, and everybody just kind of going, you've changed, and slowly seeing all these people like fall away out of my life and just feeling really lonely. But it was at that point really that I thought, okay, what can I do? What can I do to make a difference? And that was actually when I started watching AJ's podcast, with no intention of anything else, just trying to gather all this information up. And at that time, I think you were just getting crazy, crazy podcasts, weren't you, all the time? Like every week, I think you were hammering out the podcast.
Hmm.
And you kept saying on these podcasts, I need some help. Like I can't keep up with emails, I can't keep up with the content. And that was just it was almost like a little seed that I can see it now of just going, well, I can help. And that's all it was. It was just me going, well, I could help. I could just do his emails, and then that helps pass this information on to other people.
I gave you the codes.
Yeah, literally. So I literally just sent him an email and said, would you like some help? And that's where it all started. And I started helping, and then we met up, didn't we? And then started doing events together and talks together. But, I
Would you
talk
class
about,
yourself as spiritual at that time, Korrin?
no, not at all. Well, I suppose really if I look back, I like hypnobirthed my children. I was always, even as a teenager, I was the hippie weird one. But I would
Okay.
never have said I'm spiritual, or I actually had a lot of blockages around words like that, particularly words around God.
Mhm.
I'd be like, no, 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 I'm not religious. No, that's a load of nonsense. So there was a lot of things that I had to break down myself and realize that these things in textbooks, religions and all the rest of it wasn't actual true spirituality and tapping into yourself. But this has been a journey for so long, So yeah, we kind of met up, didn't we? And I think that was a big spark for us meeting each other and coming together, which
Hmm.
was a journey in itself. But that's when we really started to rise, when we really started to kind of tap into breath work, meditation, realize it was really working for us. And that was then we could kind of work on each other. So it was like, oh my gosh, I've just discovered this. And yeah, this is working for me as well. And it was like a little team coming together,
Hmm.
So we was on this very big, long roller coaster of a journey, wasn't we, through
Hmm.
that time?
Yeah, it was pretty incredible, really. Just all parts of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It doesn't like the journey doesn't come without its negative parts as well, because you're breaking down a lot of aspects of yourself, and it's quite interesting. Colin said about like the relationship with God and stuff. Like I was kind of quite similar. Like in the military, I never met anybody in the military who was religious, who was like native British born. It's like that generation of people kind of like just weren't religious, and they weren't coming from religious households either, you know. So I think the only experience really you have of like God is when they force you to go to like Sunday service and sing carols in the army like they do at school. But then it's obviously, but I think witnessing other religions around the world, especially like Muslim and the different fractions of the Muslim religions. Like people just think, oh, Islam's Islam, whatever. There's different parts of being, you know, Muslim. That you got Sunnis, you got Shias, you got like all these different types, and seeing these religions in different parts of the world be kind of like practiced, but then sometimes in totally different and archaic ways or totally different ideologies of that religion. You know, like or maybe obviously open my eyes about religion because you know you can see that like the best in humanity through Christianity in Sierra Leone and the beauty of it and like all this kind of stuff and people, you know, and inter-religious marriages like Muslims marrying Christians and like walking down the street. But then you can go to Iraq and it's like Sunnis and Shias want to chop each other's heads off. It's just crazy. Do you know what I mean? So I had years of like witnessing all of that. And I didn't. I got my parents to take me out of RE classes when I was in year nine and refused to go back into them. I did extra maths and physics, and funny enough, got like A's, A stars, and like all my GCSEs. So it's like I took myself out of all these religious bubbles, and you know, I often joke at talks and events and that, and say that when it comes to meditation, it being quite a taboo word. You know, it's not the kind of word you'd expect a soldier in the army to say to the lads in the bar on a Friday night. You know, I'm going to have an early one tonight, lads. Really want to do a big meditation in the morning. You know, when the reality is like, if you try to meditate in the morning, you half the blooming squadron will be piling in from the night before. So it's like, so in terms of like like awakening process and you know breaking down all those belief systems and constructs and all that kind of stuff. Mine was actually over quite a long period of time when I really analysed it. I get asked this question quite a lot. 2020 for me really was an explosive period, a catalyst, not so much as in my own awakening because I've actually lived and witnessed like a lot of these false flags. You know, I gained all this military experience, like saw there was no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq with my own eyes. Obviously, I was sick from the anthrax vaccines as well that they were putting everyone through in 2003. So that opened my eyes up to like all vaccines back then. Do you know what I mean? So I've had these experiences, which has basically been huge catalyst throughout my whole life. 9/11 was one. Well, I literally watched it on the, you know, those old TV stores like Radio Rentals now, had all the TVs in the front windows where you can go and rent from them.
Oh
I,
yeah.
I watched it there. I saw it happen like what across the road from where I was working as a teenager. And it didn't sit right. And then I was living with my grandfather at the time, who you know, for you know, is literally like my hero, is like God. He didn't think it was like there was something about it as well. So at that period, I was just joining the army, so you know, and then gearing up for Iraq and all the rest of it, and the war on terror. So for me personally, it was like quite a long, drawn out, systematic, I guess, catalogue of experiences that was needed so that when 2020 started, I was already eyes wide open. Do you know what I mean? So then I could carry that into my podcast, and then I was reporting on, you know, not only what was happening in the UK and on the protests and all that stuff. I was interviewing people from Australia, and they were showing like the raw, you know, totalitarianism that was literally being experienced, especially in like Melbourne and Victoria, and compared to like the Gold Coast or Upper Queensland. You know what I mean? And you know, and I was showing people that they're systematically like using geographical places, and they're all being treated completely different based on behavioral science. You know, so I was literally showing people the deep details of that. So, and then the mind control. I was interviewing people who are experts in mind control to show people the mind control and the program. So, I guess it was like it was slowly building and taking humanity on a journey. Those who you know managed to tune in and that, and the podcast built up a really big following despite the censorship. I've shown people, like it's kind of the journey was as quickly as all the episodes were coming out about certain subjects, they were debunking all the things that we've been taught. So it was literally like kind of working hand in hand with like deprogramming people, helping them deprogram whilst reprogramming at the same time. And then obviously being on that journey myself. So it's like I started as a fresh-faced ex-squaddy, my podcast, and now as you know me very much, beard as a couple, living on the land, carrying out, what for the better word, quite a lot of shamanic practices and shamanic healing work. So like people have actually witnessed that journey as well. So it's not just been about the podcast. It's actually been great for a lot of blokes, especially to go, well, he's just a normal dude with tattoos and swears a lot, and looks like he's got like turbo ADHD.
Looks like.
Yeah, looks like it. Sounds like, walks like, must be. Yeah, if that helps in terms of relativity, and when people see you and go, "Hang on a minute, why is this guy not got a crystal strapped to his head while stroking a skull?" Like, this isn't spiritual, is it? So it's just I've kind of focused a lot of attention on normalizing spirituality because we are all normal in our own way, and we are all spiritual.
It's been a big thing for us, isn't it?
Yeah,
Where we don't want to be that stereotype. Nobody needs to be. Everybody's got spirituality within them. I don't even like using that word. It just seems very like a
Yeah.
waffy word, doesn't it? But it's just like everybody has their own power, and that's what we've always wanted to show people is that you will create your own reality. And a lot of the time we overcomplicate all of these concepts when it's just so simple. And that's what we take people back to. Like so simple, so basic. You create your reality. And yeah, that's it. So it doesn't matter what we look like, how we are. We have all different people coming to our events, coming to our retreats, coming to our home. It's just beautiful, isn't it? Like we'll
yeah,
have different ages.
Hmm.
We've had people on our retreats that are like 20 and somebody else sat next to
Hmm.
somebody that's like in the 60s.
Yeah.
Complete different life path, and yet there they are at that moment together. And
Hmm.
always for a reason as well.
Hmm.
That's what I've definitely noticed about you guys. And you're right, the word spirituality does come with preconceived ideas, which is why I try and use quantum and scientific descriptions as well to try and
Yeah.
explain to people, look, this isn't, well, some of it could be, right? Because it's such a big topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's a lot of science behind this about how we actually work, and we're just not taught it. So, I totally resonate with what you're saying. And at your events, what I think is absolutely brilliant is how many different types of people from different backgrounds there are there. I mean,
Mm.
it's not just a bunch of hippies. It's like, could you give sort of an idea of the sort of, I don't know, trades that people do
I
that
was
come to
actually
your
talking
group?
to somebody about this the other day. And I was talking more about one-to-one work we do at the house, but it's the same no matter what. And I said, in the past few months, I have had a vet, a teacher, people from the military, high up in the military. Who else have we had? We've had so many different people.
Western medicine.
Western medicine doctor, GPs, absolutely everybody through our doors, just feeling drawn to these plant medicines and this new alternate, not new, very ancient way of healing themselves. So this idea that the only people who are finding this stuff are people that have been out there for years or spiritual, a lot of people are realizing now, hang on a minute, there's something else. And that doesn't mean that the path that they've been on so far is wrong. It just means there's something else. There's something that's pulling them inside of them to sit down and look at that. And it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is great, but what it also shows is how prophesized this all is. That like this cataclysmic event is literally happening and has been, since 2012. We've actually people say, "Oh, COVID woke me up," and that like COVID didn't wake anybody up. Like you woke you up, and that's what people need to remember. It's part of taking your power back and your sovereignty and return to God. The Christ consciousness within you is that, but acknowledging that you woke you up. You decided. I actually mentioned this on my Instagram stories this morning. Like this lady said, "Oh, I'm 62. Well, I see the end of this shit show in my lifetime." And I actually said, "Well, you predetermined like when you woke up. It's nothing to do with age. It's like, but what in that 62 years you would have predetermined that. But your journey is to gain all that wisdom, see all the differences and changes in generations, technology, everything else like that, to like be able to hold all that wisdom, so that when you do have the activations, you've got the keys, the codes, and everything else for your role and your mission. Because the waking up part is part of the mission, isn't it? So it's like, so people need to be like, a lot kinder to themselves, physically and mentally, and not beat themselves up, going like, "Ah, why have I? Like, why I'm 70? Why now?" But it's actually like, well, look, yes, there's more years of deprogramming to happen, but at the same time, look at all the wisdom you've got, and why is that? Like yes, you might be 70, but I've actually found, and I'm not sure if you agree. I know there's like less amount of people as the older you get on the planet. It's kind of like a pyramid, right? But there's also the ratio of the pool of people within that, say, that age group who are awakened is kind of around about the same. Do you know what I mean? So like people who are similar age to us, I feel have been very much like the way showers. And you always talk about like I always go forward and stuff like that. That's why I've had that longer awakening, is because I've gone forward, I've experienced it all, seen it all with my own eyes, the false flags, Iraq, Afghan, working at Portland Down, the whole Novichok, BS, like all that kind of stuff. Like I witnessed it all. So it's like going forward to then be a way shower. And then there's lots of people in our age category who are like that. And, I saw that with my own eyes in 2020, 2021, and all the protests were all kind of like the large population of people our age group. But I say to people who are their 60s or 70s, for example, like most of the people in your age category have been heavily indoctrinated to just work all their life, everything be about a mortgage and university and stuff like that, knowing that you would then program your own children into like taking that way as well, like at our age group,
Mm.
so like see it as a beautiful thing that your eyes are wide open,
Hmm.
and you got your 2020 vision, which is what 2020 it was about for a lot of people. And that, you're actually opening up now to like your mission, your path, and your gifts. And that all those days beforehand was literally your basic training for now.
Absolutely. I love that. And I'd love us to talk a little bit about 2012, because I'd like those guys listening to the podcast now who perhaps um, are are not at this stage yet of realizing that they have a soul mission and a soul purpose. And all that's happening so far is they think that perhaps there's a lot of things going wrong in the world and they're aware of it and they don't quite know what to do next. Or maybe they've thought about that for a long time. But I want people to think about things that have happened in their life, which might be a signal,
Hmm.
but a sign or some learning that you didn't realize was at the time. And 2012 was a really big year for me. I didn't realize it was a big year to me until 2022, because what happened to me is I was just working this job in a university and I was working with new technologies. But for about a month, I wouldn't go to lunch with everybody else because I had something on my mind. And I basically went outside with a recorder, like my mobile phone, and I was recording what I was kind of downloading. And during that download, basically, I saw that the way that we described gravity was not true, that the Earth is made of magnetic fields, that there is some kind of black rock that spins inside the Earth and creates the magnetic fields of the Earth. And therefore, all of that kind of science related to gravity and Newton's law, etc., wasn't kind of correct. It was a rough approximation, but it wasn't correct. I then recorded all this and then just went back to my life, right? Until like after 2012, when the rest of the pieces started dropping in.
Mm.
And I think everybody has those kind of experiences, right?
Yeah.
So, but 2012, something happened, and I wondered if you'd have a quick talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, just as you were talking, it's just clicking in my own brain that I've not really thought about this too much. But actually, 2012 was a year I left a very corporate banking job and decided to go self-employed and had all of that inside of me, all those fears coming to the surface. I can't do this, and decided to do it, and that was very much on my journey of sovereignty, if you like. But I wouldn't have used that word at the time or, even thought about it. I don't know what inside of me said, you can do this. It was just something, but it's something significant about 2012. I don't know what your thoughts are on 2012. Obviously, we know there was the Olympics and the messages going out there to the world, but there's a huge shift at that time with a lot of people. And I think when a lot of people can look back on their lives and start to see these baby steps, as I like to call them, just like these little things that you can realize then that actually probably since you were a kid, little things, little interactions in your life have brought you to this moment right now. 2012 does seem to be significant for a vast majority of people, which I'm sure you can talk about a little bit more. But
Yeah, the well, we know the planet started ascending in 2012. So, as like we're all feeling it, especially the last 6 to 12 months, like as the planet ascends, like and it purges, it kicks, seismic activity, like all the things ramp up. And that all the souls here and have come here since 2012 are all on purpose. I'm pretty sure if you actually like found fairly accurate idea of numbers of people on the planet in 2012 compared to now and actually look at it as a percentage increase, you'll see that like it will probably be like vastly bigger because it's all about the souls being here at this time for the ascension of the planet. They say there's 7 to 8 billion people on the planet, right? But like in 1950, so 75 years ago, there was only 2 billion. So in 75 years, it's increased 300%. Why? That in itself just goes to show you, like, it's all been a huge, massive joint effort. Like, yes, people have come and gone, but like, it's all playing roles, right? So 2012 for me was always like prophesized. It's been prophesized in so many places, and as I was mentioned a few times, the London Olympics was held in UK in 2012 as well, which, as we know, is the heart chakra of the planet. So it was always about a big, deep mission to slow humanity down, really. So shutting off the hearts of people around the world, and especially in England, because of how powerful the land is. You don't want, all this rich ancient history that's probably one of the most powerful places on the planet. People could reconnecting with the land and coming alive. So, like, I always look at everything from a military and psychological warfare. So, how can you attack the enemy all the time? And that's why I constantly go on about people to read Sun Tzu's book, The Art of War, because it is literally a playbook for like now. And if you always put yourself in the shoes of the enemy, I used to do it in Iraq, in Afghan, say to the guys all the time, put yourself in the shoes of the enemy and say, how would I attack me? Like the best way. And then not only do you understand your weaknesses, but you understand like your strengths, and you're a lot more observant. You're a lot, you can see things. So that obviously we had that in 2012, and they showed us that obviously ritualistically with the London Olympic ceremony, right? So they were already prophesizing what was going to happen at this time. Their version of events was to bring COVID out. You see the big, giant like demons with the giant needles, all these kids in hospital beds and stuff. But I also have been showing people a lot of lately is if you actually look at the amount of poisons that are now readily available in our faces, that has shot up since 2012. Like, all the, it's systematically, slowly programming people to come away from cigarettes and nicotine, which has actually been proven to help people, and getting them onto vapes so that like by this time, all the kids are on them because their parents are on them. You know what I mean? So like that's just one little thing. The fact alcohol was literally in your face on every shelf, everywhere you go. I was with Harry in the shop yesterday, and he literally pointed out that we had to push a plastic slidey door across to get a bag of washing tablets from behind it because apparently they were stealing. But there was no security measures of that on bottles of vodka and all that kind of stuff. And he 12-year-old pointed out yesterday, and I was like, exactly my point. This is everywhere in your face. And we actually had a conversation this morning about a 24-hour period for a youngster nowadays and all the poisons they're susceptible to from the minute they wake up in the morning to the minute they go to bed, plus obviously indoctrination at school, is miles bigger than it's ever been. The obesity in the children is miles bigger than it's ever been. The obesity in men, miles bigger than it's ever been. Like I've never seen so many bold overweight men anywhere in the world as I have here in the UK. It's becoming a stereotypical British male look to people outside of UK, and that's not me having a go at people like that. That's the attack on humanity. That's what I'm trying to explain is that's risen hugely since 2012. the fact that everyone's been pushed to the breadline for the first time probably in their life. Compare, that ratio, that percentage of people that are just are living month to month. All of it is systematic squeeze because of where we're going as humanity. And for the benefit of those who just kind of go for an awakening process, there's always been for many, many, many hundreds of years a thing called Project Looking Glass, which was obviously the ability for the darks entities to be able to look forward and actually see what the plans are to then put their plans in place. That stopped in 2012. So it's kind of been like, yeah, shooting from the hip quite a bit because they haven't had a choice. But at the same time, you can actually see like what's happened. But for those that are old enough, who's been around since 2012 and before, like we've all been going through this actual systematic upgrades, albeit really slowly, since the planet started ascending. And for me personally, I actually was in Afghanistan, and I know I had some kind of activation when I was in Afghanistan because I left the military after doing 12 years and went to live in Australia for 2.5 years on the Gold Coast. So it's like I obviously had to go there for a reason, and then to come back and then rejoin the military. So it's like, but with in a different persona, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So.
I mean, 2012, I mean, it's the end of the Mayan calendar for those people that don't know,
Mm,
because they didn't know what was going to happen next. And if you watch the podcast I did with Captain Leo Walton, he explains that actually we live in a binary star system and Sirius is the other star and it works in a 24,000 year cycle and it comes closer and goes further away. Now, 2012 was the year in which it was its furthest away and it's on its way back. So this will change energetically what happens on the earth.
mm,
mm,
And so we're very, really lucky, aren't we, to have experienced before that 24,000 year epoch and after, we were
mm.
actually straddling that period of time. And we're going to
Yeah.
look back on that and go, oh, yeah. So maybe people can listen to what you've said now and just have a quick think about what sort of signs and signals they had in 2012, what things were like before, what things are after, because the overwhelming message is positive.
mm,
Is positive, and I'd love us to start talking about that now because your work now, you've gone through all that, you can see all that, that's great. We can see what's going on in the world, great. We can understand all that, great. But it's all about us and ourselves. And I think you were talking about that before, Corinne. Everything that we need is within.
mm,
And
Mm,
we have to shed all of this programming, this psychological warfare
mm,
that's been happening to us, and stop being pawns in somebody else's game and
mm.
start living our true, authentic lives.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's the way I always describe it to people is an eagle vision, and it sounds a bit of a stereotype again, really, but if you literally imagine yourself rising up and looking at your life plan so far and looking back on the path and seeing how far you've come, then you can almost see those little baby steps and how they've dinked into your life. And you can even start to notice people and look for the people that actually caused you problems. Look for those people that have then disappeared. What have they raised up in you? What have you needed to shed, get rid of? Notice when they disappeared. Is it when you actually stood in your power and said, you know what, I'm done with you for whatever reason. This person isn't serving me anymore. Watch that person just disappear really quickly. And that happens systematically and repeatedly. So the more we can observe that in our past, the more we can actually go, you know what, I'm really powerful. If I can do that unconsciously, how can I do that consciously? How can I then go forward and take that lesson and just go, you know what, I can manifest, materialize, whatever word you want to use, anything into my life that I want. And yes, these little things are going to come up, these little triggers, if you like. That might look like a person, it might look like a situation. But when I can step up from that eagle vision and look at it, I can go, oh, okay, something's coming along right now. What is that? Why is that coming up? And what am I going to do about it? And a lot of the time it's do nothing. A lot of the time it's just sit, feel, release, let go, move on. And it's so simple, but people get so sucked into the next drama, the next cycle, the next problem, and that's all that's happening in the media, is that something else is coming up, and you're like, oh my God, this one's gonna get me. No, it's not. Step back, observe it. What is it? What do you just need to say no to? No, thank you. I've got me, I've got my life, I don't need this. And it's difficult because people have been programmed for so many years to go to somebody external for an answer, whether that be a teacher, a doctor, a health visitor, a midwife, doesn't matter what it is, a policeman. Somebody needs to fix me, somebody needs to solve my problems. So to remove all of that and to say, actually, only me can make that decision, only me can make the choices for me, is hard. It's really, really hard. And this is why we've created what we've created, and the community we've created is because when you've got each other and you're all on that path, you're not helping, you're not giving each other the answers. You're just in this unit together. You're in this kind of like tribal unit. We're going back to that tribe. We're going back to that. We've all got each other, but we're all encouraging each other. We're not saying, you need to do it this way, you need to do it that way. We're saying, look inward. What is it? What's your magic? What's your power? And they're feeling it themselves. And then we're just supporting each other as we rise. It's really beautiful. Really, really beautiful to witness.
How about you, AJ? How have you seen the say military side of things and the people that have come to you? Have you had people comment on your life now and your perspectives now compared to it was? Because you've always been a very kind of inspirational leadership kind of, yes, like positive kind of mentality person, but
Mm.
what you're doing now is really as a way shower.
Mm. Yeah. So I've always tried to put a positive spin on everything, like because I've seen that how ugly the world can really be, like how horrendous humanity can be, and what other humans are willing to do to other humans, um, and not just that, like the actual fallout, from a lot of these things that are brought into our countries, like seeing the real bad states of close friends and that when they're in like on heroin, for example, and stuff like that. It's just when you see all that, you don't want to be anything else. But we understand that we've got to experience polarity, duality, all that kind of stuff. So for me, putting a positive spin on everything and showing people that like what you can do, like no matter what you deem as your restrictions or the blockages that you put on yourself, the self-sabotage I guess is always trying to show people that there is a path beyond all that, beyond all those programs, beyond all the self-sabotage that we've all been accustomed to. So, before COVID even started, I already had a podcast that was called The Best Version of You. So I'd already primed myself ready for 2020. And I was interviewing, like just in this kind of format, just inspirational people that had done inspirational things. A lot of, funnily enough, military who had been like injured in Afghan and all this kind of stuff. So, 2020 started, and then I became enemy number one within the military. Like I had a WhatsApp group with over 100 people in it. It was literally like the anti-AJ WhatsApp group, saying I was trying to convince people to not do this, not do that, and I was actually going to be detriment to like a large number of deaths in the country because of my actions. And they all wish that my kids would get COVID so that and suffer from it so that it would really wake me up. So I had to go through that process as well. So you're always going to come up with challenges. Again, that was for me to like embody really to say like if you can take on this, and former colleagues, people you went to conflict zones with, acting the way they're acting towards you, you can deal with pretty much anything. So it's almost even it just stiffens that upper lip like even more that kind of experience. But since then, I've had a lot of people in the military turn around and go, "Wow, you were actually bang on. Like our government are shit houses, excuse the French." And like we actually want to do some damage to them. It's actually made a lot of them aggressive. But then it's opened up. That alone has opened up other wormholes and rabbit holes for people in their own way what they need. So now we're looking at so many military people who literally hate this government. Like, and I know that obviously from people in my family and friends who are serving now, I speak to like daily. They're very aware of like the seriousness of like the trafficking within this country, the migrant stuff, just the whole corruption and how basically you're talking about like thousands of people that have joined the branches of the military to serve and protect people, and they've all done it for good reasons, pretty much. Yeah, you do get people who like want to move away from their area they live in, or they didn't get good grades at school, but we know grades don't matter anyway. They need to be in the army, these people. To kind of help square them away a bit. Like, so no one joins to kill people. Like, it's a massive myth. I've never ever in my life met anybody that says, "Yeah, I've joined the army because I want to shoot people." Like, ever. It's, there's always a like an actual positive reason why people join. So when they're seeing the people that they're supposed to be working for or protect acting the way they act, and obviously, especially again, COVID was another way of showing that to people. So many people in the military were literally coerced or injured because of their new medicine. They're seeing it all with open eyes now, and obviously with Ukraine and everything like that. So yeah, as of today, October 2025, there's a huge percentage of the military that literally know what's going on now, and my family included. I think I mentioned to you the other day, my brother's a an officer in special forces, and he doesn't let people leave his office at the minute until they've agreed to vote for reform. Because he's so anti anything that like is not like, there's the opposite, obviously Labour Conservative, for that reason, but they've lived through those experiences just like we have. That's the key thing here. It's not like let's sit back and wait for them to wake up and then answer their questions. They've just had to go through all these experiences in their life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, like we all have, as part of their awakening journey. But now we've got like amazing people who are in our community, people you've met who are ex-military, just amazing souls. You just like helping people, just in a different capacity.
Just in a different capacity. And I think that's, you just mentioned something, about the anger that comes up, and we've got a
Mm.
whole series, a whole group of people now awakening, and what triggered them really, or awareness rising, has been the migrant crisis. And they've been to the protests. They've been treated differently to everybody else. They're reporting crimes that aren't being, nothing's been done about. And now they're coming to this realization. And what happens, what I've seen happens is people kind of get three choices about what to do. They either um, go into fear mode, and then are like, oh my God, we can't do anything. It's too big. It's too massive. Um, or they go into, I don't want to know anything more about this, and, just put their heads back in the sand. I don't want to do anything. And then there's the people going, do you know what? This is like a massive thing. This is a whole global thing. It's a whole country thing. There's a whole military aspect to this, and police. It feels like a big force. It feels like we might need to do something different than, like, I don't know, take up arms and go and storm the palace, right?
Mm.
But I don't know what that is. But it doesn't seem to me that, we want like a massive kind of civil war and all that kind of stuff, because I don't think that's going to work. So what does rebellion, or what does solving this crisis mean, and what can you do? And when we say, actually, the first thing you need to do is fix what's inside yourself, and they're like, that just sounds too weird and too easy, right?
Yeah.
But it is actually the answer, and because that's where your path and what you're meant to do is. And I wondered if you could talk about that a little bit.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think one thing that people don't realize, maybe they've heard it spoken about, is this ripple effect. And it's like when you are working inwards on yourself, you are affecting every single person you interact with every single day around you. You might not know it. You might not ever get to know it. It's not about your ego just being like, oh, I've changed this person, I've changed that person. It's literally that powerful. When you go inwards, when you work on self, when you realize how powerful you are and you start shifting your own reality, the people that resonate with you come into your life. They weave into your life by themselves. You don't have to make it work. It just happens. And this is what we're seeing with the work that we do, is that it grows, it grows, it grows, it grows. People come in, people have things for us, we have things for other people. And all of a sudden you start to see this beautiful, it's like a golden web. And it's just growing and growing and growing all the time. And it's conscious and it's authentic, and it doesn't actually take much effort. All it takes is for you to go inwards on yourself. It's so simple. I keep coming back to this simplicity, but it is.
Mm.
It's go inwards, look at everything that's coming up for you, or your blocks, your barriers, realize how powerful you are, and all of a sudden, these people will appear in your life and you will see this beautiful world that you maybe can't see yet. Maybe you've got the blinkers on still. But it's beautiful and it's right in front of you. It's there.
Mm.
So blocks and barriers, and we're just talking about fear. We've got a deadline coming up about directors having to sign up for digital ID.
Mm.
And this is what I keep seeing all the time. It's like nobody has to sign up for anything.
Yeah.
And if nobody did, there wouldn't be any. This is
Yeah.
kind of like they go for the directors first so they can go for the employees. Now, everyone's going, but I have to. You're like, you don't have
No.
to. Because
No.
frankly, if nobody worked, they wouldn't get any money. Like
Mm.
you have the power. The reason why you don't want to do it is because you're frightened.
Yeah.
You are in fear, and it's up to you to remove that fear. It's nothing to do with whatever that big scary thing is. It's
Mm.
you that
Mm.
fears it, and that's why you will just comply because you're afraid. And this is what we're trying to explain is why are you afraid? What is this fear?
Yeah.
Because when we saw this in 2020, the fear was, and this was rammed down our throats, if you didn't take the injection, you'd be dead or you'd kill your grandmother, right?
Mm.
That's what they said. It was a
Yeah.
lie. And this is also a lie. Nothing's
Yeah.
going to happen. But if only one person doesn't do it, it'll go all get just done. But you're the one that's fearful.
Mm.
It's not the
I think
thing. You don't
one of
have
the
to be
biggest
fearful of it.
things that people fear is lack of abundance,
Hmm.
and most of them are living in it now. But these people that are putting these blocks in place and these fears in place know this. They're tapping into like your deepest, darkest fears, right? So we all don't believe we're good enough. We all don't believe we deserve abundance. It comes in through years and years of programming. I always say to people, even if you look at what you watched on the telly as a kid, right? Usually it was like EastEnders, Coronation Street, all the soaps. Did they put abundant people in front of you living wonderful lives? They're literally telling you this is how you live. This is like on the breadline all the time, all these programs. So you just believe that, and you believe that you're constantly chasing your tail all the time. So when something comes in that could affect your abundance, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have nothing. I'm gonna not be able to eat. I'm gonna not be able to pay my bills. I'm gonna get into trouble. Really? Is that really gonna happen? Or you've just created that scenario for yourself from the stories that you've made inside yourself? So the same with you're gonna kill your granny story. It's tapping into these rooted fears inside of you, and then you create it. So how about you flip it and you create it the other way? I'm living in an abundant timeline. Simple. I'm saying no. Simple. And yes, it takes a little bit more than that. It takes a little bit more of embodying it and understanding it. But that's where you start. You start by looking at these things. How long have they been in your life? How long have you believed that you only deserve so much and not enough? Yeah. Have you got
Yeah,
anything
absolutely.
to add?
No, I think that it was actually we're not just creating a fear. You touched on it earlier. It's not just about the fear being created. So like again, know thy enemy. So they've always known us better than we've known us, right? For the majority of our lives. So they know our greatest assets are our consciousness and states of emotion. So give people a little bit of joy, but give them the same amount of fear to ponder over as well. So we'll make their joy football, Netflix, things that can program you, but that without them seeing it, but at the same time still keep installing the fear. So there's constantly like it triggers emotional responses within the body, right? And without you even realizing it. Then if you get the people to do that collectively, the collective, because we create, we manifest or we co-manifest, etc., co-create, you then get the collective to co-create that fear, like we saw in COVID. So that's I remember witnessing this with my own eyes on the housing estate I lived in down south when I lost the taste of sense and smell. But I wasn't sick, and I was like, it's a really metallic, and I was like, this is radiation poisoning, mate. This is not like COVID. And then I went onto the local Facebook community group, and all I could see is everybody go, "Has anyone got a spare test? Has anyone got a spare test? Has anyone got a spare test?" So it was like I could see it was a demographic, and then I was like, demographics are being targeted. Like I was saying earlier, Melbourne was treated to Cairns in Queensland, right? For example, Canada was treated differently. We were treated differently. But the reason why we're all treated differently is because of the behavioral science, the psychological warfare, and the amount we kick back or don't kick back, the amount we comply or don't comply, the amount we say, yes, I'm bending over now, shaft me, government, compared to like, no, I'm standing in my power. That's bullshit. Like, it's literally, I think it's love, fear. And they're the two states of emotions that we experience that like we should be in the love frequency all the time, but we're not. We're pulled back away from that with fear. So an individual and a collective level, it's literally materializes by the energy that you're then putting towards it. So if you don't put the energy towards it, it doesn't materialize. And this is the same with the digital ID stuff, right? I've been saying to people that you know, humanity has already collapsed vax passports, right? As quick as they try to push that, it went away, right? 15-minute cities, their little shitty token effort of putting wooden crates in the middle of the road, which I was saying to people, look how cheap and they're expecting them to get burnt or bashed down, right? They're expecting rebellion against them. Okay. The NHS 100 thing, the mandates, track and trace, like there's a whole heap of things that literally have been presented and failed because they're just all tests, like literally all tests. So it's like, can you be on your highest timeline, not the timeline that's being formed for you? That's the difference. It's like if you're allowing people to create your timelines, you'll put all your energy into that timeline, and everything's then being created for you. So it's from outside to in. As soon as, like you said, do that inner work, we're going from inside to out. So then we create from the inside. So then whatever you create is going to be based on the energy that that you'll put into it or not put into it.
How many people do you think, just I'm just really listening to what you say now, wake up in the morning, look at the diaries and think, what am I going to do today? And it's literally none of it's their choice. They're literally, this is what I'm going to do today. This is a state of mind because it's a Monday or because I have to go to Norwich or whatever it is. I'm going to feel a certain way. They're already programming their day. How many people actually do what I do, and I know you guys do? When I go to bed, I go, I'm going to have a brilliant night's sleep. When I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to feel really refreshed and amazing. And tomorrow's going to be a really exciting day. I'm going to meet loads of great people. It's going to be brilliant. And then when I wake up in the morning, I say the same thing. I think
Mm.
most people look at the phones before they
Yeah.
go to bed, are in a state of mind, depending on what they've been watching, right? Could be anything. They're not programming anything themselves, they're being programmed. They wake up in the
Mm.
morning, have the phones, and now they're in whatever state of mind that is. And I
Yeah.
don't think people realise that is massively giving your power away. That is
Yeah, of
what
course it is.
you will live in an unconscious life. You're not
Mm.
awake,
Mm.
you're kind of asleep, you're sleepwalking every
Yeah.
single day.
Well, you're literally picking your phone up first thing, like opening your eyes before even allowing any like real ambient light into your mind. Or hence the term enlightenment, light in mind. The first light you see is your screen plugged into the inorganic, and then taking on probably about 5 to 10 people's bullshit problems from all the DMs and that you receive. That before you've even thought about what your day is going to be
Mm.
like.
Yeah. And actually, that's something else from 2012 that's happened, isn't it? Massive shift to electronic devices,
Yeah.
battery-powered
Huge.
things.
All kids on them, glued to them, like in prams, and like that was the one thing. Funny you said that actually. I moved to Australia just early 2013, and that's the one thing I noticed when I first moved there. The amount of kids that were plugged into devices, I've never seen anything like it. I remember like being there for like 2 or 3 days and seeing some kid walking with an iPad in front of him in the night time,
Mm.
down watching something as they were walking down the road.
I see that. I
It's
see that
mental.
now. I see that now. And
And
so
in
we,
Singapore was just like next level.
was
Mm.
it?
Oh, it was crazy. Like everywhere you went, just had charging stations, and then families just sat underneath them with their own cable. Like it was mental. I was like, what? They are literally plugged in.
Mm.
Exactly. And so we've done podcasts about this before. And for those of you that are new to this, that we have a biofield defense shield, which you can
We've got
find on here. You can use
lunch.
your code AJ10 and you can get
Can say it's
10% off.
part of our water bowl.
Yeah, you've got the other with your water
Got them
bottle.
everywhere.
I've even got them on my I've got them on my Bluetooth headphones as well because I like to wear like overhead headphones. They're comfy, and I've got one on the side of my headphone as well.
Brilliant. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to find like solutions like this, like
Mm.
that the biofield intervention. You're not going to find it on the news, right?
No.
You're not going to find it in your paper. You're not going to find it very well. But now we're telling you that there is a solution,
Mm.
and we'll put details at the bottom of this podcast so you can go and have a look. There's stuff that you can do because this stuff is affecting people in ways they can't even imagine. Now, I'm not going to say that it's going to stop all of that, all of the activity that's going on because this is super advanced technology, right, that they're
Yeah.
using.
Mhm.
But now you're aware of it. let's just say this loud and clear. The devices you're wearing, the Wi-Fi around you, all the news and everything you're consuming on Netflix and all that kind of stuff is programming you and telling you how you think you're going to live your life.
Mm.
Now you know it, you can still consume it, but now you can be aware of it, right? Because you can be going, God, is that
Gorgeous.
trying to get me to do?
Yeah.
All right. Because frankly, I'm not one of these people who like being told what to do. so so I want to know how to get out of it. And for any of you guys that are the same and are starting to realize that your life is in a continual loop and a pattern. You keep receive your days are the same, your patterns are the same. You need to start finding, well, Einstein said if you keep repeating the same thing and expect different results, that is a definition of insanity. And
Mm.
we're here to tell you there's new things to do and a big clear out of those programs that are stuck inside you, literally making you do this, is one of those things. So
Mm.
maybe you guys could talk about your events or what you'd recommend people to do. What action should people take after listening to this and seeing that
Just
this is
something
that?
came to mind then when as you were explaining that. Like, so to me, it's kind of like uh, someone's easily programmed because you're repeating patterns and everything all the time, right? And then you're easy to attack. It's exactly the same in the military, right? We're always taught to take different routes all the time and prove different routes because otherwise you just like if you're being watched, they just say, well, they choose that road all the time. That's how we attack them. That's where we attack them. It's exactly the same, right? So there's inorganic AI in abundance that's been around for hundreds of thousands of years, just how you teach on your courses. And the whole point of these biodefense shields and stuff like that is to disconnect you from that. Because if you're repeating patterns in yourself and like as the divine modem that you are that pumps out frequency, like that AI can just literally program or keep you programmed on repetitively on all the stuff you want, right? So there's loads of examples of how that happens to us in everyday life. So your Tesco club card that they want you to have when they say this is the club card price when it's actually the real price. It's so they can just harvest all your data and it's showing you the patterns of your shopping. So then you just get marketed with all the things that you buy all the time. And if you're constantly buying the same stuff all the time, guess what you're going to be marketed with? It's the same as in like Netflix and stuff like that. Suggested for you, this for you, this for you, this for you. All these little things are programs that are based on actually your repetitiveness, that you don't mix it up. You know, that's and we live that day-to-day life. So that technology has algorithms for that purpose to pick up on your repetitions and the patterns that you do on a day-to-day basis. So a good way of actually counterbalancing that is just throw a little spanner in the works one day. Do you know what I mean? Just go, no, I ain't buying carrots today. I am buying cauliflower. You know,
But the thing
that's a
is,
very simple example. But like what I mean is, it's like you've been repetitive. You've been programmed to be repetitive all your life. So then you're
re
easy to market.
repetition is comfort zone, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. And some of the work we do, particularly around plant medicines, is taking people out of their comfort zone. So plant medicines come with a force, right? Any plant medicines, they're never comfortable, but they're temporary. And this is what I always say to people is for a few minutes, just embrace being uncomfortable, feel it in the body,
Mm.
and notice that you survived and you actually feel amazing afterwards. You know? And then we can take that out into daily life. We can go, okay, I'm uncomfortable for a few minutes, but I'm going to feel amazing in 10 minutes, in 15 minutes, in 20 minutes. So I just need to feel it. I need to feel shaky. I need to feel anxiety, as people call it in the body. I need to feel something, some sort of fear, and then go through it. And then actually, the peace that comes with that in the entire body, how does it feel? It feels amazing. It feels wonderful. But we spend so long avoiding anything that's different. How many children now won't try new foods? You know, and it's just the same thing all the time, isn't it? Watching the same shows on TV because, you know, even little things like that. I don't want to watch something new because that might be boring or that might be scary or, you know, so to just take it out there into real life and just go, you know what, I'm going to do something new this week. One thing that's new, one thing that scares me, one thing that's different, one thing that I find a challenge and I didn't die.
Yeah, and this is why I think nostalgia is actually like really powerful because you can get so caught up in like what you're doing in the modern world and the things that you're surrounded by and things like that that don't actually bring you joy. If you actually look at like, you know, I'm always posting videos, aren't I, about about the t state of town centers, but also
Yeah.
doing videos on the actual ancient buildings that we have and their purpose and stuff like that compared to like what we have now. So it's like you look around you, and like every new building's just square, grey, boring, repetitive. All the new build houses are always the same. That again, these are all programs to keep repetition. This is why I say like just sit there and like what brought you joy as a kid, like and look through these old photos and look at the clothing you wore. Half of them I got keys and codes on for you anyway, but like the childhood programs you enjoyed growing up, which are so much better than this dross you have on now. This is all fake, and you're not allowed a group of friends who are all white anymore on TV, obviously, or if they're all black or if they're all Chinese, it's not diverse enough. So it's like all that stuff again is designed to antagonize you. So like the other day, I was in a school play when I was in year six, and it was based on a book that we were studying at school called Rebecca's World. Look,
Wow, I haven't heard that.
and so this is what I mean about the nostalgia. And I was like, there's something about this book. I need to look back into it. Funnily enough, it's called Journey to the Forbidden Planet.
Oh God, never
And a
heard
lot of
that.
people haven't actually heard of this, weirdly enough. And we did it in school, and I played a character in the school play in it, and it was like just so funny. So it brought me a lot of joy, right? So I was like, I need to hunt this book. Can't find it on Amazon, anything. And I found it through a guy on eBay, but this is like one of the original copies from the 70s, and this was like 25 quid. But like,
Wow.
it was
You,
to
you didn't tell me that.
it was
25 quid for a
It's
book.
all coming out now, isn't it?
it was, but it's like it's the original book, like, and
That's
but
amazing.
that brought me loads of joy, loads of stuff like that. So it's like tapping into those things is actually really important as well. And it actually helps you see a lot of codes and all the rest of it that you actually have for yourself.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more fun than sitting there watching EastEnders and, a bunch of actors in the movie
Yeah.
to give you the entertainment.
This is absolutely true. So, and just talking about feeling out of your comfort zone, the beautiful thing about what you guys do, so you've got your group missions that are around, and people can find them on your website. Remind me of what that is, although it'll be the
Missionconsciousness.com.
missionconsciousness.com. And you can go to these events where other people, and in those events, there's always a mix, there's completely diverse mix of people and ages and backgrounds. Some people have been there before, some people are new, but everybody's so welcoming. It's not like normie world where everybody's judging everybody. This is a beautiful thing about the
Mm.
awakened people, is like everybody's nice. I mean, it's literally like that. I literally don't spend time with anybody who isn't nice. I can't remember the last time I had a conversation with somebody moaning or wasn't very nice, right? It's a different world. It's brilliant. But then the other thing is if people want to get into that, I wonder if you can talk a little bit about the kambo, Corinne, is
Mm.
that's done at your beautiful place, very safe environment. You make feel, you've got this very motherly energy, this very caring energy. And, these plant medicines really do big shifts in people.
Mm.
And they notice it like straight away, like immediately after. I wondered if you could just talk about those things.
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of accidentally discovered Kambo ourselves. I mean, there's no accident, right? It's conscious medicine, and this is what I say to people: is if this is coming into your field, or if you're noticing it, pay attention to it. I don't need to plug this. I don't need to sell it to people. I don't need to tell people that it finds them. Yeah, so Kambo is derived from a frog deep in the Amazon, and this frog is a quite big frog. It's called the Philomedusa bicolor, or giant tree frog. And we only get our Kambo from the Matsi tribe, the Matsi people. The Matsi people, if you've never heard of them before, they live deep, deep within the Amazon. There's only around 3,000 of them in the world, and they only had their first Western contact ever in the late 80s. So Western contact for them is very new. They're very pure people. And they've used this medicine for what we believe is generations. We don't know how long for. Kambo is their answer to pretty much everything. So, they give it to their children from about 3 years old. They'll start giving it to their children. If anybody is feeling unwell, Kambo. If anybody is struggling with hunting, Kambo. If anybody is struggling with fertility or receiving a partner, Kambo. So what they believe is that if something is not going correct in your life, then you are out of alignment. And what Kambo does is it brings you back to self. Everything we've been talking about today, it shifts anything energetically in the body, any bad energy, anything stuck, and it removes it, and it removes it with a very powerful force. So what Kambo is, there's quite a lot of misconceptions in the West around what it is. A lot of people will say it's a frog poison. It's not a poison. It's not a toxin. It's a secretion from the back of the frog. We actually believe it's froggy sun cream. Because these frogs come out at night time and they're nocturnal, they produce this secretion. And the Matses go out on a night time. There's no hunting, there's no capturing in nets. They will put their arms up and they will just do the mating call of the frog. They're very clever at developing this mating call, and the frogs come to them. The frogs come down, they remove the secretion from the back of the frogs, and then they release the frogs with love and gratitude. And they're collected on sticks. They're like wooden sticks that we have here. Really, really simple process. So what happens when somebody receives this medicine is we take them through a bit of a process first. We sit with them, we talk about what's coming up for them at the minute. Often it'll be things that they haven't even thought about until they're sat in front of us, and we'll identify maybe what they need to release, what they need to let go of, what no longer serves them. If there's nothing, then they just really, they're just there to receive the medicine. It's as simple as that. The process sends it's a bit like sending somebody into instant flu for a few minutes. So as I said earlier, most plant medicines are not comfortable. It's not comfortable for a few minutes. It's a force. So it will flood through the body. There are over 70 bioactive peptides in kambo, so it's a bit like flushing your body and scanning your body and looking for what your body needs at the time, which is why people will say different things. They might say, oh, I had kambo and it really helped me energetically, or I had kambo and it really helped me physically with certain ailments, arthritis, and all the rest of it. Everybody will have a different story because it gives you what you need. So the process is like an increased heart rate, maybe a rush of warmth. It might be that you start to hear your adrenals in your ears kind of flicking away, kind of responding to the medicine. And then after about 10, 20 minutes, you'll purge. And usually that's quite a forceful purge in a bucket. Now, that's not the same as being sick. This is why I use the word purge, because you will have arrived to us completely fasted and you will have just had quite a lot of water before you've gone into the process. So it's usually about 1 litre to 1.5 litres of water. All that you're seeing come out of somebody in a bucket is that water. So what's actually happening is the body is shifting. And I can't explain this anymore without you just feeling it in the room. You feel this energy movement in the room. You feel somebody literally release and let go of something. And then it leaves a space. It leaves something for you to then put back into yourself. So a big part of working with plant medicines, and particularly kambo, is what happens afterwards. When you leave from the process, what are you going to then change? And we get this beautiful clarity with the medicines. It's like because we've removed something within us, oh, actually, something's looking a lot clearer. Something, a path that you thought was really difficult is all of a sudden just in front of you. So we work with people ongoing. It's not just about that treatment at that time. It's about what happens afterwards. How can we integrate that into our lives? How can we see these changes and feel that energy movement within us? And it's beautiful. We're seeing people have these massive transformations from working with plant medicines, huge, continuously, aren't we, all the time?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's it doesn't just stop here as well. And obviously we run our retreats in Portugal as well, and we serve kambo there as well as grandmother medicine. Working with amazing, highly experienced shamans. Some of the most experienced in Europe, who work directly with the indigenous as well. So it's a never-ending learning process as well. It's not just a case of like, oh yeah, we've worked out how to like service medicine, let's just do it. It's just like you learn from every single person who comes, and like Korrin was saying, like someone's always bringing something to the party as well. The amount of people we've had sat in front of us are just like mirrors of us. And it's been a few occasions where I've been going through a process like around my mum dying last year, for example, and then I've had like guys sit in front of me who've got the exact same childhood like experiences or traumas, or mums are really similar, like the same industries, the same traits, like everything. It's like they come and sit there in front of me, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. But so as well as it's for them, it's also for us. And that's the beauty of working with several different medicines, either at our events or here or in Portugal. But I guess it all comes back to the same thing. We're seeing people's journeys we see the big part of their experiences and journeys here at this part of the bottle, and then we get to witness it when it bottlenecks towards sort of clarity and new beginnings, like for the majority of people towards the top. So it really does come with its perks. It's not just about holding that space. It's like the after stuff, and a lot of these people in our community as well, really well. I've either been to Portugal or I go to a lot of our events and stuff like that, and you've seen a lot of the changes in them as well. It's just, it's
Completely.
it's great to see.
Yeah, I mean, the transformations in the people over the time has been pretty incredible. And for those people kind of new to this, just this whole thing about releasing stuff from within yourself. I mean, we've given you quite a lot of tips today. And if this is the first time that any kind of this information has reached you, start following us. We'll start giving you information that will give you a completely different perspective. It won't be stuff you will have been taught at school and on the telly and all that kind of stuff. And so it's going to be new. So explore
Mm.
it, because once you start connecting to it, you'll start realizing actually most people's lives and brains and every day is full, and you have to release stuff to accept new stuff in. You cannot expect change when everything around you still is the same. And most importantly, when you are still the same inside.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
as you've got to purge some stuff and get rid of stuff that's out of you
Mhm.
in order to bring the stuff in you. And this is a constant thing. It's a real thing. And it's brilliant what you're doing, because you're showing people that it doesn't really matter what your background is. That this stuff and this methodology really works. And thank God that these practices from around the world are coming actually into our society, because we've been
Yeah.
very starved of it,
Mm.
deliberately so, very, very starved of it.
Yeah.
And for people to step into their power, they need to feel empowered. And if you're listening to this and you think, well, I'm not powerful, you are. You just don't
Mm.
realize it. So you need to find out what we're talking about, and try and get to the point where you can see it's actually you are controlling your life. Your programs, you don't want your programs to be controlling your life, and that this stuff is physical. This stuff sits inside you physically,
Mm.
and to remove it physically, you're removing it on many, many different levels, and you'll see
Yeah.
it in your emotions, in your mental state, in your progress, in your physical state, and everything.
Mm.
Mm.
Well, the proof of that is right, is that as you awaken more and more and more and more, right, and you deprogram, like you can instantly see programming people. Do you know what I mean? So like because you have that high-end awareness, right? So that's proof in itself. So
Mm.
you can physically see, wow, that person clearly hasn't let go of their trauma, or they're carrying all their childhood or even generational guilt and shame and blah, etc., right? Like I saw that in my own mother. So that's proof in itself. You know what I mean? But the beauty of like what you guys do and like what we guys do, for example, it's all the same thing. Like that, whether it's plant medicines or whether it's biodefense shields or bracelets or courses, etc., they're all tools. Like that's what it is for your healing journey. And one of the things I've been talking about a lot, and we've both been really kind of hitting on this, is there's this big misconception as well, especially in like the spiritual community and a lot of influencers kind of they do. I don't think a lot of them willingly do it. They know it, but like it keeps people in a lot of loops, and it's just this idea, this concept that like you're constantly healing and you need to heal, and you can get caught in a real negative trap. I've seen it with certain people with quite big followings online where they're just constantly they've discovered healing and then they've gone down this whole route of like yeah, I was on mushrooms last night. Yeah, yeah, like a week later, I'm a kambo, and then a week later, like, I'm in Peru on ayahuasca, and then I'm in like then I'm back and I'm like smashing some more kambo, and then I'm like doing a bit of crying, and then I'm doing a bit of this, blah, blah, blah. Like that's great. Showing your vulnerabilities is really important, and your journey and stuff like that. But selling the concept, not selling, but like you're creating this concept that it's like life. This whole awakening journey is a forever healing journey. Um, and my most recent ceremony in Portugal was again proof of that because the ones leading up to it took me on a big journey of where I needed to go to, like as part of my soul mission. And this is why I always stress, as much as we love doing what we do, plant medicines isn't for everybody. Unless you need to feel cool to it. And we've turned people down several times, just saying now's not the right time for you. So it's not like it's like yeah, come to us, guy, we can fix you. It's not we know how powerful a tool they are because we've been through it. And my most recent ceremony, it was all about soul mission, codes, ancient civilization, truths, all that kind of stuff. You turned around at one point and I was shooting stuff with my pistols, right? Because not because I'm off my head, but it's because it's part of my mission, right? It's my background. Like no healing was really involved in that whole thing. So that's my point is that like we're not we don't see constant use as plant medicine as a forever healing journey, like because you're then telling yourself you're completely full of trauma, you can't rid it, you've got to heal this, you've got to heal that, and seeing every experience that you've had as more traumatic than what it actually was, because then you hold that more in the body, and it becomes a perpetual cycle.
Well, it's another comfort zone, isn't it?
Yeah,
So you get in the comfort zone of healing. It's just another cycle again. I'm in that comfort zone. I'm doing it and I'm doing it and I'm doing it. But actually, the discomfort comes in what you're going to change. So okay, so you've done this plant medicine, you've done this journey. Then what?
mm,
And I think this is where a lot of things fall short. Is that something we're really big on is the integration and the keeping our community. Like anybody that's been to anything with us has our WhatsApp number. Anybody knows that they can send us a voice note anytime. Okay, we're not always there to answer immediately, but we are there and we will help you integrate. And that is not us being the external person that fixes you. We're going to throw it back at you. We're going to be a mirror.
yeah,
We're going to get you to look at yourself. We're going to be quite firm with you, but we are there. We don't just say, thank you, come on our retreat, see you later. Or thank you, come to our house, goodbye, because that is when you do get into those cycles, those repeated cycles all the time of fix me, heal me, help me, help me, help me,
yeah,
and it's actually in the action,
yeah.
in the changes that you make in your life, which is the fearful bit, the
I,
shift.
I think as well, one thing we do reiterate working with different plant medicines is like when you're in the experience, is actually like focus on bringing back a lot of that self-love. Like in our events, like when I do breath work, for example, which is medicine, I'm constantly on it, getting people to bring back that self-love. Because yes, it might make people emotional at first, but you don't need to then hang on to that emotion, right? So a lot of guys, especially, like carry a lot of guilt and shame, like from and do for many many years. Like all humans hold trauma in the body. It's until you actually recognize that guilt and shame goes away through self-love and forgiveness, that it kind of dissipates, if that makes sense. Otherwise, it's like you're like every time you cry or get emotional, it's like the attachment is, oh, it's about that. I haven't healed those wounds. I haven't healed those wounds. Well, it's because you're not actually forgiving yourself and you're not actually giving yourself self-love. Like, just say, like, for me, for example, everyone who knows me knows full well, like, I left my wife for 20 years and my children last year to be with Korrin and very much part of our mission, right? Yes, there was a very upsetting time for quite a period of time. It was a very hard to deal with, especially as a father who loves his children dearly. But at the end of the day, if I did go for a period where I didn't actually go, "Do you know what, I forgive myself. Like I know that what took place was for the greater good to a certain point. I'd be on a continuous healing journey, upset, like, do you know what I mean? Like, oh, my kid, do you know what I mean? Well, as I know full well, everything will work out as it needs to. But I'm not, if I kept myself in that hole, not forgiving myself in the slightest, I didn't commit any crime at the end of the day. Like, this happens every second of the day around the world. But like, if I kept myself in that hole, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now.
Mhm. Yeah,
You know what I mean? So,
forgiveness is one of those things that people don't understand. People think that you give forgiveness, and you
Mm,
don't. Forgiveness is is always reflected back on yourself. If the other person says, "Well, I don't forgive you," it doesn't really matter. It's the fact that
mm,
you've got to that point where you have done it, and people misunderstand what forgiveness is. And if you hold on to that guilt and shame, regardless of whether you are to blame or the other person's to blame or the situation's to blame or the weather's to blame, it's completely irrelevant. You
mm,
will hold on to that and it will stop you doing what you want to do or need to do because you're holding on to it. And the
mm,
only way to get rid of it is through love, compassion, understanding, and forgiveness. And that
mm,
is the end of the story. We're not really taught that
mm.
very well, and it's a huge part of why people hold on to
Yeah. And they hold on to it so deeply. And I've said it so many times, we're the only species on the planet that holds trauma and guilt and shame and everything else out in the body. Like, um, you know, all the BBC documentaries, the Animal Kingdom programs and stuff, where you always see that lion chasing that zebra, and you only ever see the lion catching it, right? But actually, majority of the time, the zebra actually gets away, but that doesn't make good TV. But like what it does once it's had that traumatic experience, it will go off around the corner when it's like safe to do so. It's in a safe zone, and it shakes that trauma into the ground, and then just hops off like it's like never even happened.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We hold on to it, and then it then creates other emotional responses in the body. Um,
I love that. I can just imagine like a lion like missing out on a zebra like in front of his mates and feeling like a dickhead, and then like try. He's probably not going to be the best kind of place mentally, then, is he, to go off and go and get his next
yeah,
zebra?
yeah. But BBC don't show you that though. They show you it like mauling on the zebra. They don't show you like the lion looking all sheepish all of a sudden because he's like crap at hunting. You
Come on,
know?
get out of it. You are the man.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
absolutely right. You can see that with your pets at home, when they mess up or do something, they don't feel guilty about it. They notice what you've done, but they're like, they're not like
Well,
send themselves away because
you know our dog,
You don't give a
yeah.
shit.
Oh my God.
right? He's a perfect
Zero guilt,
example.
zero shame.
He's a perfect example. He literally legged it off the farm to the farm across the road where he could literally get trampled on by cows because he's only small, so like they're not really going to see him. Like anything can happen to him. And then you come back, and then it's like you give over the persona that you're telling him off, and he just rolls over onto his back and just go like, "I surrender. What are you going to do?" Like he's taking the mick at you. And then it's forgotten about because he's a dumbass dog.
And that's how you can then get up the next day, and that this is a reminder to everybody that whatever day you're having today, tomorrow is a different day. Things will
Mm,
pass. Things only remain the same when you allow it to remain the same.
Hmm.
And what I really hope that you guys get from this podcast that we've shared today is our transformation stories and other people's transformation stories that we've worked with, and a difference it's made to their life. And if you're interested in the things that you've heard today, please consider joining AJ and Corin's community, because it's more than just about taking plant medicine. There's so much community there. So people will be in the
mm.
same space that you are. And then because they're in the same space as you are, you can understand. But you also see people who've been where you are and now have shed that and now are, have gone on and up. And
People are
so
flying. I mean, you came to our party last month. If you think about the amount of people we had in the house, but actually look around, like every single person in the house, has been on a huge journey
yeah,
themselves and are now
Emma
doing
is
exceptional things.
glowing.
Yeah,
Emma is on
Mm,
another level.
yeah,
she is.
Absolutely. Shout
mhm,
out to Emma. Kudos
yeah.
to you, love.
But like
Fantastic.
you got a lady there who went through like the VAX program at the start, because to protect her sons, who like she's a single mum who's got three kids on the spectrum. Do you know what I mean? Like some a lot older adults and a youngster, who obviously Um, but to go through that full journey and then she literally wants to do every course she does. She's very embedded with you guys. She's got codes coming through. So you go, that's proof in the pudding that like just because people may have like opted for the medicine doesn't mean that you're harmed in this that, and the other. Emma has pulled like, a beautiful bit of proof of like just
Yeah,
how
yeah, she's
the journey
amazing.
can shift. Um,
Yeah.
Single mum, three kids on the spectrum, went through the whole process. She's doing all the courses, she's doing all the frigging light language now, like all sorts. She holds space amazingly. And what I love about her is she's not loud, but like when she's taught, she always says the right thing at the right time.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. She's such a transformation in a relatively short amount of time because she's allowed it, and like you said, she's spent the time and the effort and invested in doing that, and it was just so beautiful to see her actually whenever it was like in
She's in her element when she's here as well. Do you know what I mean? Because
absolutely.
she's away from that again. Like so many people experience that, just the hustle and bustle, especially for single parents, and then it's like its feels never ending. So to have your reality almost flipped on its head and suddenly you're around all these like-minded people with powerful energy is a no-brainer. And that's why the community is so important to us,
Mm.
why we created it for that reason.
The community is so important, and for those people listening, have a look around at all the people that are around you. I mean, are some people in your life and around you because they always have been.
Mm,
And this is what happens. People shift away from each other, and then we get taught, oh, you're breaking friends and you're losing this. It's like people, as people grow, they automatically won't enjoy the time or the company or the
Mm.
pastimes of the other people. Doesn't mean you hate them or you broke friends with them. This is what children say in playgrounds, right? It's
mm,
it's
Mm.
it's 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 still with love and compassion. You don't have to like disrespect or dislike anything anybody else is
Mm.
doing. You focus on yourself and your journey, and that is how you grow. And you are the product of all the people around you. You're the product of all the things you're consuming on on your social media. So if it's all negative, all new doom and gloom, guess what you're going to be? So
Mm.
just switching, starting following different people on social media, and then seeing who they're following and who are influenced by them. That completely changes your mindset as well. So I think we've given people loads of ways that as they've become awakened in their different ways, on how they then can go on to the next level, guys. Is there anything else you want to share as a final thought for the people listening?
Um, I think my final words would be to just touch on what you said there. Actually learn to feel the experience in your body more, and you do that through trust. So because we're so heavily distracted and pulled from pillar to post now, we never actually feel the experience in the body. That was a big game changer for me. Like as soon as I'd done a lot of readings, I had some like past life regression stuff. I'd sat through sound bowls, do all this kind of stuff, right? Go through all those different experiences and things like that. But actually, when I really started sitting and feeling it in the body, like you realize how powerful your body is, and one of the many things it can do is almost like giving you and holding the signal that you need. So when I meditate now, I've got so much feeling in the body that I know I'm on point. So that's me connecting with my higher self and everything else like that. So you know, one of the easiest ways and quickest ways to go within is to like just try and feel everything in the body. So if you're getting that sudden like you feel like you got through the top of your head down your spine and go whoa like that, that's you feeling it in the body. Like let's go hello. I'm trying to give you signals here. Um, yeah, just get into a bit of a habit of just trying to feel the experience in the body, and then it'll be reciprocated on the outside.
Beautifully put. And how about you, Corinne?
Yeah, just going back a little bit to what you just said a minute ago, Joe. And I think for me, I like to make it really obvious for people that you are going to lose people. If you are on a transformational journey, it's not an if or a but, you will. The life that you are living right now isn't resonating with you anymore, and it is going to fall apart, it's going to crumble, and that is beautiful. And if you can see the beauty in it and you can just send everybody off send them with love. You don't need to fall out like you just said. Just watch these people crumble away. Yes, it feels lonely for a little bit and it feels a little bit sticky whilst you're trying to find your tribe and you're trying to find other people, but all of a sudden, boom, they're there. And you'll start to notice these people are starting to come into your life that are giving you little keys, little codes, little messages. And you're on this beautiful journey and you're just like, it's almost like you're skipping along, just going, oh, another person I met today. It's beautiful, but you have to have that bit first. You cannot keep that old and go into the new. It's impossible. So appreciate it, understand it. And I'll go back to what I said earlier, that eagle vision, so rise up above it and see what's happening. And it becomes a little bit easier.
Beautifully said, beautifully, and that's what the communities are here for. So you
Mm.
didn't have to go through what we did, was long, prolonged periods of loneliness.
Yeah.
There are now us that have created this because we've been through this. So we're hopefully there. We'll catch you. We'll catch you. So thank you so much both for this really brilliant insights and everything that you're doing for humanity and raising awareness and showing your vulnerability as well and sharing your own experience, because that's the only way we're going to grow. Really appreciate you being on today.
You're more
Thank
than
you.
welcome anytime.
Thank you very much, everybody. And join us on the next Crystal Water Experience podcast, where every week I bring on new speakers with new experiences and hopefully stuff that you might not have heard of before, because I'm trying to encourage everybody to get away from the programming and the Netflix and all the stuff you might not know. This podcast is about stuff that maybe you should know. Okay, take care, and I'll see you next week.